You're actually sitting, whether you know the stories or not, you're sitting in sort of a haunted place right now. There are actually stories about this very room and some of the previous residents of this house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put these EMF detectors out here, and you guys can kind of help keep post here, and if anything starts to happen, kind of raise your hand and let me know that the EMF detector is going on. You know, a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy with a lot of the instigators, so to speak, like table tipping, Ouija boards, dowsing rods, all these things come with their own bit of controversy. I thought I heard a voice over here beside me.
Yes.
Did anybody hear something? Did you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
That was really weird. Okay. There you go. We're interacting. We're talking about you. All right. So while they do come with some controversy, I think you just look at it once again as a neutral investigator. You know, don't prejudice the product. This is where research really becomes valuable, because the more that you know about the people who lived their lives and passed away in these premises, the more specific questions you can ask. Well, I mean, the more information that you're armed with, the better. And what better piece of information than someone who lives in the location? You know, it's pretty amazing how quick, you know, people can overlook the obvious. It's great to go and get historical research, and you know, like George Brumder here in Sam Pick. You know, it's great to say, okay, I'm armed with those names, and if I, you know, hear a male voice, I can try to see if that's one of those guys. But it's even better, you know, to talk to the people who are there all the time, and they say, look, every night something happens in that room. Well, that's great information, because now we can sort of zero in on that room. And I think it's really as basic as that. You know, you go, you hear where the things are happening, and you concentrate on those places, and you'll come away with a much higher percentage chance of capturing evidence than you would have if you just went in and you're like, don't tell me anything about the house, and you're trying to cover, like this place, 3-story home with, you know, how many rooms are here? 27, 28 or something, probably. Trying to cover that many rooms, you know, all night is just almost impossible, especially if you're working with a very small team and you're using noise discipline and all of that. But it's really nice when you know, if they say, well, you know, George Brumder lived here in this house, and here's what George did for a living, and this is where, you know, he did this and this. Then you can ask more things. You know, George, are you still here because you wanted to watch over your collection of books? You know, things like that. You can ask more pertinent questions, and it just ups your chances for good responses. And it's also a good way to sort of verify, because you know, usually you're guessing who you think's there anyway. You're taking your best guess based on witnesses and what they say. So it will help you verify that, because, you know, if you say, George, are you here to look over, you know, your book collection, and you hear an EVP that says, what books? You know, then you might think, well, maybe this isn't that guy, you know. And I'm making that up about George's book collection. Did George collect books? Do we know if George collected books?
He published books, and there's a lot of original publications in the house.
I nailed it.
You nailed it.
I nailed it, didn't I? I didn't even know that. If you're beginning ghost group and you don't have a lot of gear, which is probably going to be the case, you know, because you've got 2 video cameras, a couple of audio recorders, well, you know, concentrate on one area at a time. You know, start with the highest probability location. You know, like say, things always happen in George Brumder's room upstairs. Well, start with George Brumder's room. You know, close off that door, turn off the air conditioners, make sure there's only 2 people in the whole house, not just that room. Those audio recorders have highly sensitive microphones. They can hear a person chewing the fat 3 rooms away, you know, or television or radio or anything. And all these things get mistaken for EVPs and ghost voices all the time. The place is really decorated in period furnishings, and that's another thing you find is a lot of the people, like for instance here, George Brumder, he's probably very protective of the house, because it was his house when he was alive. I mean, it seems that most EVPs and things that you get, they're sort of saying their own thing. It's very rare to get good intelligent stuff. Now, like the clip that was caught here, like It Was Us, that's kind of the indicator that when you have an intelligent haunting, because if you can ask a question and you get an actual direct response to that question, and it makes sense now, and it can't be once, you got to do it a few times, because sometimes it could just be coincidence that the words said sort of fit that situation or that particular question. You know, my favorite places are the ones that just produce, you know, because, you know, so many places you go to and you don't feel like anything's happening, and you may find something later, you know, when you're doing your review and going over all the evidence you captured. But the places where things happen real time. You know, you hear voices and you see things and things are happening in real time. And they don't tend to be the places everyone knows about. They're places like your Brumder Mansion and things like that.
Yes, I saw that.
Let's make sure when the booger man coming up behind me.